since last term. So.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I like the idea that the Fort Rodeo Club has, but I wanted to make sure that that site was not
Yeah, right now
used.
the problem is people keep cutting the gate to get in, and they go and use it, and it's taking up a lot of space. Nadine, it's unfortunate Nadine's not here. She's tried a number of times to find a group that wants to take over the motocross track with no success. Nobody wants to take on the liability. Nobody wants to take on the organization of it or ownership of it. So, unfortunately, just like the last time around, this happened 20 years ago-ish when they did it the first time, and then everybody walked away and nobody wanted to run it again. So
Yeah, it's too bad, because the group that was there was quite active for a period of time.
yeah, and I know Billy's already been in talks with somebody who's got machines that are willing to come down and do it for him for no cost. So
Yeah.
So a couple things on that motocross track. That was built by members of the community with donations of equipment, and I think Weyerhaeuser donated the dirt. A couple flaws to it, which I think are why there isn't anybody active with it right now, which we saw when we were on the PXA board. Liability is a big thing, so right now I guess that's falling to the town of Princeton. Because I live near it, so I do know it is used. I thought it was still used by a club, because it was every Wednesday, it seemed. The second problem part to it, or challenge, is that there's no water to it. And that was something that the PXA was always asking for, was for water to be put near it so that they can keep it watered down and then it'd be better used.
Yep.
So in itself, the actual track is, having one could possibly be considered an asset to the community. It's just right now we don't have somebody to run it. It was being ran by private individuals that were interested and had family members involved in that sport, right? So just like if you're involved in hockey, you help hockey.
No, it was being run by it was a society that was running it.
Yeah, but
they formed a society
initiated by families that had an active interest in it, right? So
as most of our clubs are.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like most clubs are ran by, because if your child's involved, usually you're involved. So with that, could we possibly look at, because the Popcom motocross track is one that was quite actively used, and I've just recently learned that that's being closed too. So there is a desire in that motocross community for tracks. So it could possibly be one of the advantages or assets that we as a town use to market our community without having to rebuild it again, if it is something. So could I just ask that we pause before we just say demolish, and then have a look at what, because I know we've talked about an overall plan for the property to make it like a destination, and to have it truly be a multi-use facility that we can market. And I know Nadine's doing a really good job with that. It's actively used, and I know Gary has plans. We just haven't had anything come back to council with a formal plan of what we're going to do with that property. So before we level something that's already built, and that I would estimate to be about $20 to $30 of community investment into that, can we just pause, look at what the possibilities are of future use of it, and then in the meantime, there's still quite a bit of property there that isn't used during the rodeo that we could maybe then level, do some groundskeeping to it that would be better used for the rodeo club for their horse trailers, livestock trailers and stuff during the rodeo club. Like maybe we can use, there's a very big section that's not even, like there's nothing on it whatsoever. So that would be my request, that we pause that until we have an.
Jared, there is some water there, correct?
There is some water there, yes.
And do we have a price to upgrade that service all the way out there? Like,
Not.
I know when the society was up and running, they contacted me and about us paying for it, and I said, well, it would be great if you guys would apply for some grants to help, and they refused to apply for any grants to help us out. So I don't know. I don't personally. I don't want to keep it. It's a huge liability to the town right now. As you've just indicated, people are using it. They're not using it under anybody's insurance but ours. They're not using it under any umbrella that's protecting the town of Princeton. We don't have full-time staff up there. We don't have a plan to develop the PXA right now. We don't have the capacity right now to build a plan. We don't have the financial means to build a plan right now. So I've been contacted by a number of different people through the last year looking for private property to build commercial tracks in the region. I don't see this as something that the town should be shouldering right now, and it is like I said, it is a liability, and you get one or two people every now and then that say they want to use it, but nobody wants to take ownership and create a club and manage it and do that sort of thing. So, you know, everything keeps falling on the town's shoulders, and I don't know, we can only keep accepting so many more roles without increasing taxes to a point where it becomes unmanageable. So I don't know, that's just my take on it. We've gone down this road in the past. I understand that it was a community effort. It was a community effort last time, and it was a community effort to get rid of it last time as well. So
Was it a motocross track or the
Yep.
mud track?
no, it was a motocross track. It was about what, 2004, 4 I think is when they put it in. It lasted about 2 years, and then they dissolved it too.
So if it's now, like, it's not under the PXA, it used to be the Princeton Exhibition Association who, we owned it, they managed it. Now that it's under our ownership, does it change, or do we have an idea what cost of insurance would be to have that?
It's part of our general liability insurance, but I mean, it exposes us quite greatly. We're not experts in the motocross
No.
business, and so to allow people on there without any kind of governance or management or whatever, I mean, the track could be too soft, it could be too hard, it could be debris left on there from someone we don't know. We're not on there managing or maintaining it, so it is a huge liability for us.
Yeah, it hasn't been maintained for 4 or 5 years. It's
And, yeah.
like, are we gonna put public work crew out there to maintain it? Like, that's
No, but like I was just saying, just my suggestion would have been just to pause and then look, because if Popcom is now looking for a place, the reason why they're closing is because they've rezoned it, because there's going to be a new attraction, a gondola or something, so they've rezoned it, so that community is gonna be looking, so maybe they may be interested in taking over as an association on our track, if that's a possibility.
Go ahead, Jared.
The material used for that track, I don't think like a major organization would actually use that. It's like a hog mix, I think, that was laid down. So I'm not sure, they might even just wipe it out. If someone were to come, they'd probably wipe it out and put new material down anyways.
Okay. And as for the water, I know the challenge when it was with PXA and when the Motocross Association was under their umbrella as a user group, the thought was, because the water line would have to go across what is the horse racing track part, and at that time PXA wasn't sure they wanted to permanently change that horse racing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for that water main, initially they wanted a fire hydrant for
Right.
fire protection.
Right.
It was then we were gonna put a standpipe there for the use for them.
Right.
But there is water there that they were using, and it was enough to wet it down, type of thing.
Right, not enough
Yeah.
pressure, they needed to increase that. So, which is something we should consider anyways if we're gonna be increasing the usage is fire protection in that area too. So my suggestion, my hope would be that we just pause for a little bit to see if that is something that,
Yep.
I appreciate what you're saying. As far as I'm concerned, we've paused for 12 or number of years. And this thing is sitting over our heads. As far as I'm concerned, we've paused long enough. If they were gonna do something, surely to God, 12 years would be, or whatever number of years you're talking about, would be enough to get it going.
Nadine did bring up the fact that the one in Bridal Falls was closing, but she still didn't seem to think that, I could be wrong, but she didn't seem to think that there was anybody coming here. Like, it was, you know, it was mentioned, and it isn't like Nadine hasn't been trying to find somebody to do this. It's just, it's been year after year of somebody calls and says, can we use the track? Nadine saying, try to find somebody to start a society and you guys can run it. But every time that happens, nobody ever comes back, so, you know. So. Anyways, it's up to council for a decision or a direction.
Is it, so this, excuse me, this
If you
second.
want, we can break it into two parts. I mean,
Yeah.
It's your guys' you know, imperative. So,
That's fine.
Yeah, I agree with splitting that into two different pieces, so I would make the motion regarding leveling the old motocross track. I had a question that Jared answered, and that was whether or not it was to standards of other tracks, and he explained clearly that the material would probably not be suitable. And
Okay,
so
so
that
you're-
answered it for me.
You're making the motion to remove the track.
Correct.
Okay, so council is making a motion to remove the track. Do we have a seconder to that motion? Councillor McLean is seconding it, okay. Discussion on the motion.
I stand with, I would like to just pause to see if it's even a marketable plot, because I don't even know if it's financially, like, is a motocross track of economic benefit to the community, not just a liability. So I would even be willing to look into that.
I think that, you know, I mean, I haven't heard, I can't remember the last time I heard anything about the motorbike track, so.
Come
And
visit.
I agree that, that if they did something, if someone else is moving here, they're gonna do something else, you know, that's not gonna be the track they use. So, yeah, well, it's already second, but.
And the immediate use in my mind is when you drive down towards Jim Burns, they're parked all the way down that hill, they're parked all the way down to the landfill at rodeo days. It's a necessity,
And I could further state on that, there's plenty of room within the exhibition grounds itself for just parking. They keep it, like, the gate is like from this entrance on, it should be participants only, right? For the residential people coming.
they're walking from the landfill turnoff.
Yeah, but that's where, open up that one section to the right of the barns for more public parking.
That is not our property.
It's not our property?
No. That is Crown land. We don't have access to the property that's over there.
Okay, and then the other piece at the back is a hole that they would generally use to put their debris until they had the bonfire in October, so.
So, okay. So we have a motion, it's seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, I will call the question on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, so the second part is that we refer back to staff to negotiate with the Princeton Rodeo Club on this 10-year term.
And I can say that staff are in the middle of that discussion, being that it's a financial question. Staff are asking to see financial report from the rodeo club.
Okay,
So
fair enough.
that's about as far as we've got, so.
Okay, and Councillor Willis is making the motion. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Elliott. Any questions or comments on this? Yep.
Where does the money go? When the rodeo makes money, where does the money go?
That's what,
That'll show us.
that's why they're asking.
That's
Okay, but as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't go in any private pockets.
No, I know.
It goes to the renewing the rodeo in the future and
Sure.
everything else. As far as I'm concerned, we don't have racing days anymore.
But their argument is that they want to put in more events, right? So that's what.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. They want to add more events and stuff, so they want more money just to, I guess, to promote or do
And
whatever.
want all events at no charge
They want the 10-year free rental.
of all
Of
events.
all events.
Increase their number of events and still.
Yeah, I mean, it may come back and staff say yes. I think it's worth having staff sit down and further and discuss it with them and see exactly what their plan is and whatnot. And maybe the answer is yes, but I think it still deserves more than a couple-minute presentation by their board, and,
Yeah.
you know, and the other thing is 10 years is three terms. So do we want to commit the next 3 councils to something that we normally would not do? We would normally not go over a 5-year agreement on something. So I think it warrants having staff come back with a report. It's not going to hurt. Yeah, go ahead, James.
Sorry. Yeah, so it's also important to note that the community charter has a restriction on doing leases over 5 years. So, because it is a rental and they are a separate nonprofit, I think the maximum we could do is 5 with a 5-year extension.
Yeah, so.
The other thing to note too, like when you're taking your consideration of this, is that they do a few combined events too, like where it's the rodeo club and like Halloween Family Fun Night, right? So it's not just the rodeo and Little Britches and stuff. There's a few things, and then in the fall, the Harvest Festival is also under them. So I think there's also 2 different rentals on them. But
It's a little bit confusing, you know, the presentation was a little bit confusing, so we just wanted more information because it sounded like they're also willing to trade some maintenance as well, right? And so we just need to kind of tap the brakes a little bit, get a full picture so we can make a report to council. And
Yeah, it's not that anybody's saying we don't support this. It's let's get all the information, and then council can make a more informed decision at the time.
Are they not asking for free rent for the time that they use it?
So that's every single event they're the only ones that put events on up there. So they're not just talking about that. And then Billy, when he was
They're
here,
the only ones that they put on Fall Fair?
yeah, the Fall Fair is gone. It's now the Harvest Fest. It's under them. Halloween Fun Night is under them.
no, Harvest Fest is joint.
Joint.
Okay, but it's under their insurance, is it
No,
not?
it's
Okay,
2
whatever,
separate.
it's all together, but that would be under that. They were talking about bringing in some roping and some
Little
other
britches.
little britches and a whole bunch of
Barrel
other
racing.
events, so it's not, we're saying no, Randy, what the motion is to find out more information.
I don't have a problem with finding
So-
more information. There is a certain amount that we do know.
Yeah.
And so I guess going through to you is the fact that in my mind, they're just talking about free rent for the time that they're going to use it for the different events. And yes, they have lots of different events, but they're just talking about that rent for that time for all those different events.
That's right. But we need to know like how many events, because the way that the presentation was, it sounded like it was going to grow to be more and more and more, and of course the more things that happen up there, it isn't free. Like it's not like free for us to give it to them. You know, there's Public Works maintains the grass, gets it all ready. You know, we do repairs on the place to make it ready. Janitorial supplies, cleaning supplies, like there's a cost to the town to give it to them for free as well. So we just have to kind of weigh it out. Like what does that cost as opposed to what the benefit is to them, what the benefit is to the community. And I mean, if they're sitting on $1 million, then we need to weigh that out as well, right? So we need to see their financials as well, to see their financial position. Does it help them, or is it just an extra little benefit?
Or maybe they come back with a proposal for a management agreement and they manage it.
Yeah.
And instead of us doing the work, they do the work and whatnot. So there's a lot.
Willing to take on some of the management, well, that relieves us from some of the expenses, and so that is worth it then.
And they
So
talked about some of that with their equipment,
Yes,
right? You know, they
exactly,
talked
yeah.
about doing the
Yeah, I was
and
going to
then
say, we
machines
can't
and
deny the fact that the majority of the buildings and structures out there would not be there without the rodeo club. You know, I'm thinking back to Stan Thompson, Johnny Bay and Pete Ruiz.
Yeah.
So
Just in what you mentioned about what you're gonna investigating, I would also want you to be investigating what they bring into the town.
Absolutely.
Because it's a huge
Yeah.
emphasis.
Yeah.
I don't know about any business that isn't running
Yeah.
full out during
Yeah.
the times that they are running their
I
different
think
events.
I think we all recognize that it is a huge benefit to the community. It's just that the 15-minute presentation, there was more questions generated than answers. And so we just want to kind of take a moment, engage with them, and find out, try and get some of these answers, and then we would bring something back to council.
okay. Any further discussion? I will call the question. All in favor? That is carried. 6.2 is the Princeton District Chamber of Commerce. They also asked for us to waive fees. Staff have come back with a motion here that staff negotiate a fee with the Princeton District Chamber of Commerce for the use of the arena and their trade show being held on July 18th, 2026. And again, this goes back to some of the same things where we have to have staff on site during the event. We have to janitorial, all the costs of the janitorial, paper, etc. So the way it was set up was under a day use, which is the more expensive way. And staff are proposing that they go back and negotiate a different rate with them and come and then move forward that way. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Gould.
Second time, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Willis. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 6.3. 6.3 is the condenser. Wow.
Yeah, so we've talked about this for quite a while, and we brought it up at our strategic planning. The current condenser it was installed in 1996 and is now considered at the end of its useful life, and it actually now is undersized for what we actually need. We did a lot of good work last year, and our project last year included the replacement of the condenser, but it just prices have skyrocketed in this industry, and we weren't able to do it last year. We talked about it at strategic planning this last fall, and it still had strong support to proceed with the project. So we're proposing that we bring the project back again and award it to Norlock Refrigeration. It is a single source award, but it is a continuation of last year's project. And as we mentioned in last year's report, it's such a complicated piece of equipment. Norlock has been the engineer of record for that plant since 1995 that I can remember, and so he knows it intimately better than anyone else. And so really, there's no one else better to do this work than himself. So we are recommending that we award the contract to Norlock Refrigeration.
Thank you. Questions?
The condenser, it'll knock the cost down.
Yes,
Right?
much more energy efficient, and this council has been very conscious of energy efficient initiatives. We've done a lot of work on the arena specifically to address that, and this actually will make our plant way more efficient. Yeah. We've done a lot of good efficiency work on the inside, but the pinch point is the condenser now. So once we replace the condenser, then it'll be much more efficient than it ever was. So.
Councillor Gould. Perfect.
It's okay. Go ahead. 2 points. One is you just said it's going to make it more efficient. So will that condenser help the compressor keep the
Yes.
ice cold so that he can keep the heat on throughout the whole all 3 sections?
You know, on that, just a side note, but the answer to your question is yes. We'll be able to run our compressor much more efficiently,
Yeah,
and
that part.
it'll maintain the ice way better. The heating side on the bleachers, the switches are available to the public. They can turn them on and off
Yeah.
whenever they like. So.
Yeah.
Can we get a medium switch?
However, they do get turned off at a breaker, so especially when it's not freezing again,
Yeah.
they do
Okay.
kind of stop it. So
Yeah.
just because it's either on or off, right? You
Yes,
can't
it's
turn it
either
up
on or
down.
off. That's right.
But as long as it'll help a little bit, that'll be good because they do have the best ice in the league.
Yeah.
from what
And
I've
I was
seen.
just in a Suyas for a hockey tournament, and I can tell you by the end of the day, that ice was just a skating or a swimming pool more than anything.
Yeah.
So, and I've worked in the arena. It's pretty hard when from 6 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night when the game starts to keep the ice from.
It's a great problem to have that it's
Defrosting.
being used.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, my second part is in regards to the actual motion. It says that it includes, it's 200 including the electrical, and yet the quote says does not include electrical.
That's right. So the quote is 196, I think, or 198.
196.
196, yeah. And so the electrical work is very, very minor. It's like $1,000 at the most, kind of thing. So, not in my report, but we're hoping to try and get a Fortis rebate as well on this. So, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Councilor McLean?
This is the replacement of the condenser.
Yes.
So we've already bought the condenser.
No, we haven't bought it yet. But
Oh, yeah.
you'll notice in the contract that once council commits to the project, then he will require a 50% deposit to order the condenser. The condenser
At a
is,
cost of,
the condenser itself is about $80,000 or $90,000. Yeah.
so replacing a condenser is over 2.5 times the cost of buying a condenser.
This condenser is quite a bit larger than the old one. We can't just put it on the old stand. We actually have to have a new pad made. We have to have a new stand to hold it. So it's going to be in a different location than the existing one. So, and then of course we have to remove the old one, and it's a fairly elaborate project.
Deal with the
You're
ammonia.
like buying a motor for your car, and it costs you 2.5 times more of the cost of the motor
Yes.
to put the motor in.
Yes, and as we know, the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The second best day is today. So the prices keep on going up and up and up.
One more question.
Yep.
Sorry, it says 15 weeks from when it's approved.
Yeah.
So we're back into hockey season.
Yeah, we're getting close, so we need to do this today.
So it's
I'll make
possible
the
to have
motion
it done
right now.
before? Yeah.
Moved by Councilor Willis.
I'll second.
Councilor Gould is seconding. Is there any further conversation? All in favor? Approved. You can call him now.
Yes, I will.
Probably on speed dial.
We excuse Lyle for 5 minutes. Sorry. Council reports. Councilor Willis.
I have nothing to report right now, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Gould.
Nothing to report.
Councilor Elliott.
Last week, I attended a strategic planning session for the Karamias Gristmill, as I sit on the Gristmill Operations Society. Some changes coming, some positive, exciting things down the pike. Opening soon. Come on down, check it out. And this morning I attended a Teams meeting for the Canadian Mental Health Association in Penticton, and not a lot to report there, but that's my report.
Thank you. Councilor McLean.
Mine is more of a comment. I'm being put in front of me complaints with regard to the water metering. If you Google water metering, one of the #1 things that they say is possible is that you are able to determine where your leaks are in your community. Our water usage is tremendously high, and we've put a lot of work, as far as I'm concerned, into trying to find where those leaks are, and it has made a difference, but we're still high. As far as I'm concerned, water metering is inarguable. I don't even know if that's a word. But as far as I'm concerned, anybody that is complaining about having water meters put in my mind, it's because you're using too much water, and it's going to cost you more money. What the crime is that people who save money or save the town money by watching how much water they use and everything else are being punished by not having water meters. When you look at a typical Canadian household uses approximately 200 to 300 liters of water per day, per person. Princeton's use is 1,493 per day. In other words, we're over three times as high as normal. And as a result of that, the two things that can be causing it is that people are wasting water, and water is escaping. We have old pipes. I mean, these pipes that we have a lot of them have been replaced, but a lot of them are old. And I'd like to get a cost of what that difference is, how much more we're having to pay in terms of water pumping and maintenance and everything else to go from 200 to 300 liters up to 1,493 liters. I just, as far as I'm concerned, it isn't a choice. We don't have a choice, in my mind, for at least those two reasons, that we need to get off debating about this and get on with it and bring this about so that people are paying what they deserve to pay. That's my report.
Just before we go on, are we close to getting the public open house right?
Yeah, getting close. We have True Consulting and Neptune available, so they're ready. We just have to talk amongst ourselves a little bit more to narrow down a date.
Thank you. Yeah, I echo a lot of that. Last week I went to Kofi in Vancouver, the annual Council of Forest Industry meeting. As you can imagine, it wasn't the rosiest of outlooks for the forest industry and the future of forestry in British Columbia. But everybody's trying to find ways to move forward and keep things moving forward. Some of the good points. I attend a lot of forestry meetings. Something I never thought I'd do as the mayor, but it takes up a lot of time as mayor of Princeton. We are, I think, ahead of the curve in a lot of communities and a lot of regions because of the relationships we have here between industry, community, and First Nations. And because of that, I think we're pretty well situated compared to some of our neighbors. There's a lot of talk about the need for fiber, and there is the need for more fiber to go through a mill, but there's also the need to find ways to bring that fiber into the mill cheaper and more efficiently. And that kind of seems to be the crux of it, is the fiber is there. It's just how do we get it to the place it needs to go. Princeton's mill has done an amazing job over the years keeping not only our mill operational, but all of our partner organizations, and there's about 26 of them, I believe, that the Princeton mill and forest, the guys, what do they call them now, woodlands, used to be the timberland side of guys, used to feed into about 26 different operations across the interior and all the way down into the lower mainland. So they do an amazing job. They continue to do an amazing job. Gorman's is continuing on with that same work. Gorman's believes in that same work, and I think that's what's going to give us the competitive advantage over a lot of other communities. The outlook right now with the U.S. market isn't good, as we all know. They have brought down some of the fees against us, but it's not going to be enough to save the forest industry in British Columbia. So everybody's looking for markets outside of North America. They're looking at Europe. They're looking at Asia. Some big headway has been made. I spoke with a team that their job was to actually go and work with countries in Asia and other places to try to get their building code changed so that they could use timber for construction. And in the recent months, those countries are now reaching out to Canada rather than us having to do all the work and trying to convince them. So China is one of the biggest ones. They're looking at changing the way that they build so that they can start building with timber. So the future of a lot of our logs may end up in China as boards to build houses. And that's a good thing. We're part of the ecosystem of Gorman's, which means we're gonna get most of our wood to the best mill. They have a very competitive market space, and I could drone on and on about it, but reality is it's not very rosy out there for the forest industry. But if there is a place that is looking forward, it would be the Merit TSA and the people that we work with now. So I'm optimistic there, and it was a good conference overall. It was, there were some bleak moments, but there were some good moments too. So, I guess that's pretty much it. Since then, I've been sick in bed. So, let's put all. Yep.
No, just a question, comment about the water meters, and thank you for clarifying when there will be a public meeting about it. I think, like, I know this council has been about fixing aging infrastructure that we have in our community. We did the borrowing so that we can look at it as a whole. And one of the components to that is water metering, and every resident in the province, in the world, really should be concerned about our water usage, and this is one of the components to it. I agree with that wholeheartedly, that paying for what you use is it's responsible. I think a lot of the concerns isn't just that they don't want to pay for it, it's just how they found out about it, and that is where I've been assured that that process is going to happen. The mayor just confirmed that a public meeting will happen. Another thing that we've talked about a few times is all this water loss that we have, whether it's overwatering or overusage, we're actually paying for it twice. We're paying for it when we're treating it, like as our drinking water, and then we're paying for it as our wastewater. So it would be helpful to our bottom line in the community too if we were more responsible.
So just to that point, Councillor Gould, about people finding out about it now. I have a challenge with that. When we first got elected and then as a council back in 2018, one of the first things we talked about in 2019 was water meters. That was in the newspaper. When we applied for this grant, that was in the newspaper. Mm-hmm. When we got this grant, it was in the newspaper, not only here, but in the entire province of British Columbia. It was out there. My challenge right now with people not knowing about things is that I don't know how you were supposed to communicate with everybody anymore. It's been in the newspapers, it's been on the TV, it's been on public releases from the province, it's been in council agendas, it's been recorded for everybody to see. At some point, I don't know when, I don't know how we're supposed to get the message out more than it being in the media.
And the door's open, right?
And the door's open.
Yeah.
James, you have
I've
your hand
had
up.
it also on the last 3 financial plans
Yeah.
for water metering since we've received the grant
I don't
in 24.
I don't argue that it isn't knowledge that we were applying for it. We've talked about it on our strategic planning. We've talked about it on our financial plan every year in great detail. It's just that it was actually happening. And the only thing is I've received one notice to do it. I haven't received this, that it has to be done by a certain date notice. So I don't know where that's coming from.
I don't either. The town has sent out one notice. That was the notice
Yeah,
that you
and
received.
that was it's happening, but
That's what we have, Jared.
Neptune has been sending their own as well. So we sent our original, then it's up to Neptune to send out the letters for the people to call back and make appointments. Then they'll send a reminder letter. So that they're
so not everybody's getting that then from Neptune.
Probably not yet,
right, because if they've already made an appointment, they're not getting the reminder.
So I haven't gotten the reminders.
Well, they may be doing it in sections as well.
Yeah,
That's
Potentially,
what-
yes.
Right. Yeah, and that again puts it where the what's the word to use for this, where the perception of us withholding information is, well, that it was contractors that are now contacting them. So the initial mail out was obviously very effective. Like they're happening. The water meters are happening this year. The grant has been secured. and that's happened.
So I want to point out something else too, though. Jared's department is one administration person. One person. You're looking at him. So, you know, he's got public works guys under him, and that's it. So when Jared's trying to keep up with all the projects we give him, and Jared has the majority of projects that we give to staff, and he's one person, try to administer all of that on their own, it's a little hard to keep in front of absolutely everything. I get it, and Jared's, you know, said openly that, you know, maybe I could have done better. I take responsibility for that as well. I, you know, the buck stops with me. We probably could have done better. We don't have a communications person. We don't have an administrative assistant in the office to help with any of the communications, emails, layouts, any of this stuff. So it all falls onto Jared. So I get it, but at the same time, you kind of got to cut the guy some slack.
When was the utility, like, have the utilities been sent out for this?
No.
Utility bills haven't gone out, or any of that stuff hasn't gone out, because
I
we
would
haven't
say-
approved the budget yet, so we can't send out any of that stuff yet. So that's what we're going to move on to next, is the financial plan, and if we're ready, we can do that now.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, this whole project is not a debatable thing. We don't go out to the public and tell them that we're gonna go fix a well, we're gonna do a venture lift station or whatever. We simply do what we're supposed to do, and it's right in front of us. I don't know where we need to go to get permission to do things that we try to improve the town with. As far as I'm concerned, the list that you rattled off in terms of advanced news is above and beyond what we're responsible to be providing. As far as I'm concerned, if it was at all debatable, that would be one thing. This isn't debatable. This is saving the town money. That's what we're paid to do. We're paid to go out there and make decisions in order to save the municipality money.
Yep. And to the point that, yes, it's a grant, that grants are still tax dollars. They're everybody's tax dollars. And, you know, you can knock us for getting grants, but we got the grant so that we didn't have to pay out of our own pocket. So the share of our tax dollars versus the share of everybody else's, you know, it's a lot less. So, you know, if we don't apply for these, then we have to pay 100% of it. With that, we're going to move on to the budget. James?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great. Do my technical stuff here. Perfect. And one more. There we go.
And I'm assuming the one that you handed out is the...
Yes, please. Please go off the one that was handed in. There's a couple of minor editorial changes last minute, so that's the one that we'll go off of to review. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I am asking council for a third reading of the financial plan. This will make the financial plan non-amendable until we actually adopt it. It must be adopted before May 14th, and a copy must be provided to the province. I'm going to go over the changes. There was quite a few made between second and third reading. I'd also probably like to thank Councillor Gould for her help in proofreading. We also have a fairly shorthanded financial department, so her help has been immeasurable to catch some of the little errors that my fingers make as we complete the process. So right inside the front cover, the introduction, we quoted a 3.02% tax increase on the second reading in January due to the shifting in non-market change and some of the tax appeals. That's gone up to 3.05. So that typically goes up a 1/100th of a point or two between second and third reading when the revised roll is achieved. So that's the final number we present to council. Some extra details in the third paragraph as well about public consultation and the meeting, and that's required before May 15th. The public consultation meetings were held in March. And no written or verbal comments were presented to council regarding the financial plan. Next page, consolidated budget by department. A number of these categories change. We'll go through the individual budgets. They get compounded into this report, so there's not a lot of detail I want to give on this one. The detail will come through the individual reports. Next page is reserve transfers. Again, that'll come up as we go through the individual budgets. Next page is general government. Right off the top, municipal property tax. Again, due to changes in non-market change and the revised rule, the amount of municipal property tax actually increased $11,000 between second and third reading. Other grants for 00021 increased $50,000. Council, the last 2 meetings ago, approved a resolution to increase the posse grant by $150,000 and receive $50,000, and $55,000 from HUD Bay in a grant loan type of situation. So increase of $50,000 is to reflect that. Down on the list, 5 from the bottom is 400185, reserve interest allocation. So at second reading, we had not yet passed the reserve transfer resolution, which was done in March. So that 314 is removed from the general government budget and applied to each individual reserve budget as per the community charter. So that's why that line item is removed, and it will be added on to reserve expenditures. Next page is operational expenditures, and the page after that is reserve transfers for the general government budget. So the numbers have shifted in here. The reserves are applied throughout each of the next 5 years. Those are estimated amounts. Actual reserves are calculated and reported to council in February, March again. So so that's there. We did have a brief $13,000 reserve or imbalance in the last budget. That's been corrected. Yeah, I think I have that. Any questions on the general government budget? Okay, next page is discretionary grants. That has not changed. The next page is protective services budget. We had $200,000 booked in there for for proceeds from insurance. The dog pound was wiped out in the 2021 flood. That's been removed until the source of funds is secured, as per council's instructions back on the first budget meeting in November. Next page is the reserve transfers for the protective services budget. The policy reserve transfers have been implemented in this budget revision from second and third reading. So the fire department has an extra $400,000 of reserve going into. That was done as per council's instructions last year on reserve transfers that via the mine and Vermilion Forks contributions. They want the first $400,000 to go into the fire department reserve and any remainder to go into the future amenity until otherwise notified. That's been fulfilled out of this budget. That money gets removed out of the general operations fund. So basically all taxation revenue goes into the general operations fund. This budget removes it from the general operations fund and applies it to the fire department fund. So that's why that was changed between last year and this year. We also have a general capital fund. That is anything that's being put in the general fund will be put to that reserve and then rolled into the general operations fund at the end of the year. Any questions on protective services? Moving forward, public transit has not changed. Economic development budget. So we had a request from council to increase the Similkameen Valley Planning Society budget to $10,000. So that is reflected in third reading. Capital expenditures, 24-002. That capital project has been re-added to the financial plan, $50,000. It was originally 45 in second reading, then removed from the budget in November due to it being unfunded. It was requested to be added back by council at the $50,000 level. The director believes that $50,000 is the proper amount to refurbish the caboose and put up the signage in the weather vane. So right now it sits at $50,000. That is a general operational amount. Just before I say that.
And then it,
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Bronze Statue project, the number has been updated from last year. And the boardwalk sidewalks have been added to the capital expenditure list to reflect the fact that we had a council resolution passed in late 2025 to purchase the Kebony boards for the sidewalk. The remainder of the project is yet unfunded. That will come in front of council when we find the project and possibly the land sales reserve for that. The reserves have been adjusted based on those capital plans that were added. Any questions on the economic development budget? Okay.
so just to clarify that, it was a new request to increase it from 45,000 to 50,000.
Correct.
For the caboose
Yes,
that we haven't all seen before.
that's right. Visitors Information Center has not changed. Municipal campground has not changed. Public Works budget. So we go to the capital expenditure section. The capital project has 18,000 inside the vehicle replacement capital expenditures project budget. That is for the purchase of a new garbage truck that was also passed by resolution. We have possession of the garbage truck. Council committed itself to providing the funding for that in the financial plan. The paving program, the amount has been reduced based on additions from the Canada Community Building Fund that were received at the end of the year and finally accounted for when wasn't unused in December 31st, 2025. And the Kebony outlay was also taken from the paving reserve, so that reduced the amount of money available for paving in 2026.
James, sorry, the other change was that the vehicle replacement, we rounded it up from 17.5 in the resolution to 18.
Correct, yeah. That's pretty standard operating procedure for finance, just to numbers, provide a little bit of contingency for each budget. Yeah. Any question on the Public Works budget? We'll move along. No change to the aerodrome from second reading. No change to the parks budget from second reading. No change to the waste management budget from second reading. Actually, there is a minor change to the waste management. It's landfill sales software replacement as opposed to landfill scale replacement. That was corrected. No change to the municipal cemetery budget. Recreation, we had a slight programming error where in the agenda it was recording as negative 20,000 for recreation programming revenue and recording as 0 for recreation programming expenditures. So that programming error has been corrected to separate them out. 540019 operating expenditures, that increases the 150,000 to the Princeton Posse to recognize the purchase of a bus that was approved 2 council meetings ago. In the reserve transfers, the increase to the future amenity fund proposed is now realized. So those are the planned transfers to that. It does affect the general operations fund on the other side. Any questions on the recreational budget? Moving forward, no changes to the waterworks budget. Sewer budget, the 40020 infrastructure grants reflects an extra $25,000 for the remainder of a planning grant we received to plan for the moving of the Fenchurch Avenue lift station up to the, behind the Bridge Street Park. The other capital expenditure change, 26001, the Westridge Clarejester replacement, the amount was adjusted to 557 to adjust for contingencies in that project. So the reserve transfers adjust to recognize the fact that those two capital projects have changed in amounts. Any questions on the sewer? Okay. Moving forward, proposed reserve transfers now have interest allocated. So now that the reserve transfers have been completed for 2025, now I can actually adjust the interest accruals. We have educated estimates on the interest accrual for each of the next 5 fiscal years. And so those have been adjusted accordingly inside the reserve transfers. Also affects Schedule D inside the actual bylaw itself. Questions on those? Okay. Moving on to the bylaw itself. Found the front page again, reverted back to 25 to 29. Not sure why that keeps happening to me, but Councillor Gould is adamant every time I have that applied and I change back, she finds it. So so we make sure we have that corrected on this one for sure. Schedule A has not changed, as it is policy, and it needs to be recorded in the financial plan. Schedule B is as listed on this financial plan. It's basically just a consolidated schedule from the budget book. Planned source of revenue and planned distribution of municipal taxation are both as current as per the reserve or the revised rule from BC assessment. Schedule C, a couple of changes that have been reflected in the bylaw itself from the budget book. So landfill sales software replacement to supply and install new software for the vehicle scale, 23-054 project has been completed. The caboose refurbishment and weather vane signage is re-added to the financial plan inside Schedule C. Vehicle replacements has been added to Schedule C. Next page, situation table 24-009 had an incorrect project number. That's been corrected. 2 projects have been removed from Schedule C. Fire Hall number 2, which was completed in 2025, and the dog pound, which is yet unfunded. Next page, Westridge Clarejester, the 557. We went through that in the budget book. That's been corrected. Accessibility assessment and plan. That was originally removed in error from as an unfunded project. It's been put back. Last page, Fenchurch lift station replacement has been added there as 25,000, and the last project for the boardwalk sidewalks is also listed there for the purchase of the Capanee in 2026. Schedule D reflects all the changes, planned movements of financial capital for the next year, including the operational plan as presented. So we are planning on bringing in $18,058,000 and spending $18,079,000 for a discrepancy of $21,000, which is illustrated on the next page. So that last chart is just to somewhat clean up the reserve transfers and provide a couple different financial checks and mathematical checks to make sure that our reserves all balance. So the 21,000 change of reserve, we have the net change of reserve of 335 that comes from Schedule B. 314 in interest accruals lead to the difference of 21,000, and we also have the 13,426,000 in reserves. Taking out the 21,000 leaves 13,405,000 in planned reserves at the end of the year. These are planned reserves. Obviously, we can't get the exact amount until we actually complete the year. So these numbers will substantially shift by the end of the year, which is why we always present and get approval for reserve transfers from council in quarter one of following fiscal year. And Schedule E is the permissive tax exemption policy. That has not changed. So I am open to questions from council regarding the latest reading of the financial plan. If not, I would ask council kindly for third reading. Thank you for your time.
Questions?
I'll make a motion for third reading as in the report.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, moved by Councillor Gould, second by Councillor Elliott. Sorry, any last chance for questions or comments? Yep.
Insurance town shop,
Been taken care of. It's part of our general insurance policy for all town buildings.
so we're done with that.
Yes, sir. Both the fire hall and the public works building are both insured through the municipal insurances.
Okay, the BC Transit increase, is that as a result of more service or?
Yes, we've budgeted as if we were,
The budget hasn't changed from last year, so we budgeted for us running everything just because we're anticipating or we're trying to come up with, develop a plan to maybe do something in-house. So we left the budget the same. So, but there is a slight increase because now we are contracting the Route 50 to the RDOS. There's a fee for that.
Thank you.
It's just an allowance at this point.
The general plan is to possibly look at future service within town. Now that Route 50 is now in possession of the regional district, so we're not sure about future services yet, but we've left the budget intact for future
we're
consideration.
just investigating some
Yeah,
options.
okay.
And what did it cost us for the legal battle with the
Okay.
insurance company?
Can we vote on this?
Question, no question.
Yeah. All in favor? Thank you. We'll talk about that later. Tax rates bylaw, James.
Thank you. So to supplement the budget, now that we know in our budget how much the municipal tax amounts are, and the revised roll is complete, and we have received requisition letters from the Regional District of Okanagan and Milkameen for how much hospital and regional district services will cost for the year. We can now present the tax rates bylaw. It's simply a calculation based on what our mill rate needs to be for collecting the amount of tax that's in the financial plan. It's proposed for a 3.05% increase. We still remain residentially one of the lowest burdens of residential tax. I think there are 9 municipalities out of 161 that charge less on a municipal residence for user fees and taxes than Princeton. So I will ask council for 3 readings on the bylaw, and this also must be completed by May 15th by statute.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Council Willis, seconder. Council McLean. Any questions? Yeah.
It's my favorite part every year. So, James, I really appreciate when you give this mill rate and the history of the increases or decreases in the mill rate. So, from looking at that, last year the mill rate per thousand was $2.78 per thousand, and this year it's $2.89. So, really, it's like a 10-cent per thousand increase.
It also is heavily weighted by the total amount of assessment base for the municipality.
So if your assessment goes up.
Yes, so if we plan for a 3% tax increase and properties have gone up 3%, the mill rate shouldn't change. So it's also a reflection on the amount of assessment we have. The assessments went up slightly less than the 3% increase, so that's why the mill rate slightly increases.
Okay, thank you.
James, for the final version of this, can you make it so that that number can be seen? There's one at the bottom That's just number signs, because it's,
Oh, no, there's, oh, yeah.
your column's not big,
So-
your column's not big enough.
My fault.
It's probably
My
like,
apologies,
it's
but
probably by 0.5.
If there's any, if you have any questions on that, happy to say.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor? All in favor? Carried. Okay, with that, motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor
So
Cool.
seconded.
Elliot, all in favor? Carried, thank you. With that, I will say goodnight.